Hello and welcome to this session of Fresh Start for ExecuNet. I'm your host, as always, Tony Vlahos. And today we're exploring a career alternative that many executives are considering these days. And I think we can all guess at the reasons why, which is a franchise business ownership. Whether as a side venture or a full-time pursuit, franchising can offer greater income security, career control, and a more fulfilling professional life. Now, to guide us through this and all of your questions, we have Pete Fillain, a leading franchise consultant, ExecuNet's top entrepreneurial coach, and the best-selling author of Hire Yourself. Pete has helped hundreds upon hundreds of executives like you navigate the franchise landscape. And today, he'll be answering your questions so you can determine if this path is right for you. Before I kick it to Pete, I'm going to ask for a little impromptu poll. If you'd all please participate. So you can use the chat feature in front of you. And let's say on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, Tony, I am super interested in understanding more about franchise ownership and likely pursuing it as a next step for myself. That's a 5. And if you're just kind of, kicking some tires today and thinking, well, I don't know what it is, but I thought I'd tune in and find out, that's like a 1. And if you're in between, let's say it's kind of a 3. So 5 is, I'm really, really into this and eager to find out more. 1 is, I don't really know. Let's kind of see where it goes. And 3 is, I'm kind of lukewarm to it. Thanks. That kind of gives us a read on who you are, and we might be able to steer our conversation today in your direction in a more useful way. It's always a joy to welcome back Pete to the ExecuNet stage. Pete, they're all yours.
Tony, thank you so much. I appreciate the great introduction. Again, my name is Pete Fillain. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a franchise consultant. I'm the international best-selling author of the book Hire Yourself, and certainly a proud corporate escapee. I'm excited about today's webinar because I'm going to teach you how to build income security and wealth through a franchise business, to take control of your destiny and to live life on your terms. I'm going to encourage you to leverage the executive franchise model to work on the business, not in the business. And that could be full-time, that could be semi-absentee, or what we'd call part-time. I'm going to teach you how to create a secondary income or even replace a primary income. And we're going to talk a lot about or learn about franchising today. And certainly I'm going to answer a lot of your great questions. So you've been watching the headlines like I am, right? They're getting worse. Bottom line is a storm is coming. There are massive layoffs happening. There are more looming. Now is the time to start putting together a plan to protect yourself from the storm. And that can create career and income security. It can be with a full-time franchise business or a franchise on the side. But bottom line is you see these layoffs. I just read a rumor that Amazon is about ready to lay off 15,000 managers from that standpoint. It's crazy, right? Starbucks, 1,100, Porsche, 1,900 employees. Heck, Southwest, for the first time in their history, are laying people off. Layoffs are coming. And if you read the article last year by the Wall Street Journal, The Disappearing White Collar Job, bottom line is they're going away. Corporations are rethinking management positions. And the higher the pay, the bigger target it is on those positions. So bottom line is that things are changing, and certainly AI is also going to have an impact on eliminating positions. So the storm is coming. We want to be prepared. So are you a corporate executive looking to take control of your destiny? Maybe you just want to create career and income security, or maybe you want to keep your corporate position and keep the income while you have a business on the side, or maybe you just want to escape the corporate world altogether and create a primary income. Maybe you want to diversify your assets and income. Maybe you want to set up a plan to escape that corporate rat race over time. Maybe you just want to learn how to live life on your own terms or enjoy yourself. If any of the things resonate with you, this webinar will be well worth your time. And I am probably like a lot of you, my story, right? I was told, go to college, get a job with a big company when you get out. So that's what I did. I graduated from college. I started with Ford Motor Company, and I got on the executive fast track. And I went up very quickly, and I found myself running a very large sales and marketing organization for Ford. And I'll never forget the day I'd moved all over the country, I'd given up nights, weekends, all that kind of stuff. I worked really hard, and my blood was blue. But in late 2006, I got a call from my boss, and my boss proceeded to offer me a voluntary separation package. Now, I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I had top performance reviews. I was on the fast track, and here they're asking me if I want to leave. So I went home and I talked to my wife about it, and we decided we'll take the adventure and we'll leave. And I took some time off to kind of recharge and all that kind of stuff with my family. And about 2 months later, I'm sitting at the kitchen table with my wife, and I had two opportunities. I had an opportunity, an LOI on a small business in my community. I always wanted to be a business owner. And I had a job offer from a company called Terex. And Terex is the third largest construction OEM in the world. And they asked me to come in and run their Americas operation. My wife decided that there'd be more security with the job. So I took that executive position at ExecuNet, or excuse me, at Terex. And I literally had a great time. I enjoyed good people. I ran the Americas, and I was promoted to head of global sales and production planning. And I found myself gone 5, 6 days a week. And it just was a life that I didn't want anymore. So I finally just said I couldn't take the corporate rat race anymore. And I wanted to re-engage my life. And so I quit my very high paying corporate job and I started my journey as an entrepreneur. And the first business that I invested in was a franchise concept called Junk King. And Junk King does junk removal. And I decide that I'm going to buy the rights to all of Junk King for 3 states. And as the owner of 3 states for Junk King, I had the opportunity to help find franchisees to go into those states. And I really enjoyed working with executives to look at exploring and investing in Junk King. About the same time that I invested in Junk King, I got the opportunity to join Franchoice. And Franchoice is an elite franchise consulting network out there. And they invited me. And I really then enjoyed this even more because now I could work with executives all over the country with all different types of businesses. And that ultimately put me on my mission. And my mission is very simple, is I want to help executives take control of their destiny to build wealth and to live life on their terms. I get the great opportunity. I don't have a boss. I don't have anybody to put me in the senseless meetings, artificial objectives. My job is I can put all my time and energy into helping people do exactly what I did. Escape the corporate rat race and be in control of their destiny, build wealth, and live life on their own terms. So my promise to you as we go through today is I'm going to encourage you to create or build income security and wealth with a franchise business. And then again, it can be involved in it full-time or it can be part-time, but this idea is putting together a business that can do that for you. And I'm going to teach you exactly what that business model is, the executive franchise model. And I'm going to answer a lot of your common questions that you're going to have, and I'll give you some great resources at the end of the webinar. So questions we're going to answer today. We're going to talk about why more corporate executives are taking the path of franchise ownership. What is franchising? What is the best franchise for 2025? Best business model? Why semi-absentee franchise ownership? Why should you consider that? What's the minimum investment to get into a franchise? What are the capital requirements to get into a franchise? What are good sources of capital? Great question. We'll answer is, can I replace my corporate level income with a franchise? And how do I find that right franchise business? And we'll talk a little bit about how other executive members have attended and then also went off and invested in franchise and talk about their success stories. So are you a 50 plus year old corporate level executive? And are you, or why are more executives taking the path of franchise ownership? So the future of corporate executives, it looks tough. I laid that out earlier. The storm is coming. There are layoffs. There's more layoffs coming. Companies are reconsidering the value of executives or managers. And we're going to see more layoffs. We're going to see more downsizing. And we're going to see a lot more of that kind of consulting and contract work. So they eliminate your position. They may bring you back to do some contract work. It's a short-term commitment. You can be underpaid or overpaid with that, but the idea is it's nothing long-term. And employees now are changing jobs every 4 years or less. It used to be you get a job, you're with them for 30 years. Those days are gone. There's a lots of turnover, and it has to do with a lack of loyalty from these corporations. To meet a quarterly number, they may eliminate jobs. And certainly there is age and unemployment discrimination. And if you don't know what unemployment discrimination is, if you've been out of work for an extended period of time, they would rather have somebody that is employed with less knowledge or experience from that standpoint, which is kind of crazy to me. And there is going to be a significant impact with AI on these executive positions. And here's a very scary stat. If you are a 50 plus year old corporate level executive, 50 plus year old corporate level executive, 50% of you are going to get pushed out of your company or into retirement before you're ready. One more time. If you're a 50 plus year old corporate level executive, you got a 50% chance of somebody pushing you out of your job or your career before you're ready. Now, here's even a scary stat. A scary stat. If you go and find another job, only 10% of the people do get more money or the same amount of money they did from the prior job. So, one of the questions I always ask people when they say, okay, I'm considering franchises, I ask them, why would you consider investing in a franchise business? And this is what executives say to me. Pete, I just want to be in control of my destiny, or I want to have independence. Pete, I want to create an income. I want to be in control of my income. I want to build an asset I can someday sell, or it can be a legacy for my family. Pete, I want to be my own boss where I can make the decisions. I can set the direction of the company. Pete, I want to make a difference in my community. I want to make an impact in my community. Pete, I want to be engaged. I want to have purpose. Pete, if I work hard, I want to be the one rewarded for the hard work, not a big company getting all the benefits. I want to be the one benefiting from my hard work. Pete, I just want to build, lead, and mentor a team. Pete, I just want to be happy, satisfied, proud of what I'm doing every day. I want to create a family business that I can include my spouse, my significant other, my kids. And heck, if I've got capital, I want to leverage the capital to build something for myself. I don't want it with some financial investor over in a market fund. I want to be in control of my capital and what I'm building with it. I want to beat ageism. I don't want anybody to clock me out of my career, and more importantly, my career or income. And bottom line is, people just want to create career and income security. So, what is franchising and what is trending with franchise businesses? Well, in the simplest form, a franchise, somebody has figured out a business model. They got all the systems, the processes, the procedures, the brand. And so they are the franchisor. They're looking for franchise partners. Somebody decides, hey, listen, I want to invest in this business. I want to use this business model. They are the franchisee. So a franchisee wants to partner with the franchisor and use that business model for a period of time. And they're going to pay what is called a franchise fee to use that business model for a period of time. And during the life of that partnership, the franchisor is going to provide support to you as the franchisee. And for that ongoing support, you're going to pay what is called a royalty. A royalty in its simplest form is you're giving up a percentage of your top line revenue. 5, 6, 7, 8% of your revenue goes to the franchisor for providing that ongoing support. Now, when we talk about franchising is booming. And every time I get up and I talk about franchising, everybody thinks of Subway, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's. But bottom line is there are over 4,000 franchise concepts out there today. There are over 750,000 franchise establishments. And bottom line is they're playing in over 300 industries. Bottom line is that franchising is touching every aspect of your life, whether you need to know or not, right? So bottom line is, and I use the example in my book, you get up on a Saturday, you go work out. Yeah, that's a franchise. And on your way home, you pick up a cup of coffee. Yeah, that's a franchise. And when you are going home, you stop off and pick up your dry cleaning. Yeah, that's a franchise. You get your car washed. Yeah, that's a franchise. You get home, you pick up your kids, you take them to the martial arts class. Yeah, that's a franchise. When you are on your way home, you pick up a sub sandwich. Yeah, that's a franchise. When you get home, there's a van in your driveway. They're washing the windows of your house. That's a franchise. Franchising touches every aspect of our life, and it has a big impact on the U.S. economy. In fact, franchises employ over 8 million people and contribute a little under $500 billion to the United States GDP. So bottom line is franchising is touching almost every aspect of our life. It's big business. So when we talk about franchising, there are two basic business models. So I want you to think of service-based franchises. Service-based franchises come to your home or your business and provide a product or service. So like home service-based businesses, they could do home improvement, for example, painting, flooring, closet systems, garages, window treatments, remodeling your kitchen, or just simply handyman services. Professional services, they come to my business and do commercial cleaning. They could do fix the plumbing. They could do restoration. They could do HVAC work. They could do business coaching. And there's also personal services. So think of like in-home care. My mom gets old. She needs a little extra help. That would be a great example of a service-based business. Or they help my mom find a new retirement home, right? Bottom line, helping her kind of figure that out. Or maybe they help my mom downsize so she can go into that assisted living place. Bottom line is there are service-based franchises and there are facility-based franchise concepts. So think of facility-based concept is that strip mall down the street. Somebody takes 2,000 square feet and creates a place where you can get a haircut, get a sub sandwich, get a massage, take a Pilates class, whatever it may be, right? And that could be around health and wellness. So think about fitness, massage, medi spas, weight loss, all big industries. Or beauty. Beauty might be another example within facility-based businesses where hair care, nails, lashes, hair removal, for example, or even around our children, tutoring, preschools, martial arts classes, sports training. Franchising is in two basic business models. So one of the questions people always ask me is, hey, what's the best franchise model for 2025? And what I'll tell you is there's a growing movement of more people or more franchises where you work on the business, not in the business. You're not the person that does whatever the work is, you're leading the business. Bottom line is you're setting the overall direction, you're making the key decisions while overseeing the manager and who manages the business, right? So as we talk about being a franchise owner, there is different levels of engagement. So some people want to invest in a franchise where they're very much the artisan. They want to work in the business. They want to be the guy or gal doing whatever the business does, right? So if it's a lawn fertilizing business, they want to be the one fertilizing lawn. They get a little truck and they go fertilize the next lawn. If it's a sub shop, they want to be the one making subs 7 days a week. And if it grows, great, but they're really just creating a job for themselves. The next level is where most of the executives I work with are interested in the executive franchise model. They want to be involved in it, but they want to work on it, not in it. So if it's a lawn fertilizing business, they don't want to be one fertilizing lawns. They want to be managing manager, planning the market. It's a sub shop. They don't want to be making subs. Nope. They want to be manager, planning the marketing. And over time, they expect it to grow. So when we talk about the executive model, you can be involved in it full time, 40 or 50 hours a week, managing the manager, planning the marketing. So you're working on the business full time. The other side of the spectrum is executive model semi-absentee. And we see a lot of executives doing that. This idea is they keep their corporate job, they keep their corporate income, they start a franchise on the side, they get the business going, they put a manager in place, and they watch over that manager 15 or 20 hours a week. They don't have to be involved in the business every day, but you do need to be minding your business. Executive model semi-absentee. So when we talk about this executive model semi-absentee, where you can keep your corporate job or keep your corporate income, start the franchise on the side, examples of executive semi-absentee businesses would be like, for example, in a facility-based concept, you've probably seen Club Pilates. It's a Pilates franchise. It's the first kind of big Pilates franchise out there. That would be a good example of a facility-based semi-absentee franchise where you could keep your corporate job, have the franchise on the side. RestaPros would be a good example of a service-based franchise. It's a franchise that plays in the restoration space. And the idea is that they do restoration. When bad things happen to your house, they take the stuff out. So this is a business where they would allow you to have a general manager. You watch over the manager 15 to 20 hours a week. Those are two examples of executive model semi-absentee. So why semi-absentee ownership? Well, one of the reasons is you can keep your corporate position while starting a franchise on the side. And I did the exact opposite. When I left the corporate world, I walked away from $300,000 a year plus job to go start investing in business. With an executive model, you keep your executive model semi-absentee, you can keep your corporate income and you can start the business on the side to create that secondary income. So you can leverage that semi-absentee ownership. You can keep your income, keep your job, And the idea is once you get established, you watch over that manager 15 or 20 hours a week. Some people less time, some people more. You still need to be minding your business. So why executives leverage semi-absentee business model to start a business on the side? Well, again, you can leverage your corporate income while starting the business on the side. It allows you to diversify your assets and your income, which is a pretty good thing in today's world. You can create that supplemental income on a path to build wealth and protect yourself from future layoffs, or call it an insurance plan for your income. And you can set up your great transformation or your potential escape from the corporate rat race, I like to call it, and live life on your own terms. So if you remember anything from today's webinar, please remember jobs are no longer income security. Those days are gone. There is no loyalty left. Bottom line is when you have a business, you will not be laid off. You will not be furloughed. You'll be not given a separation package. As a business owner, you're in complete control of your income and your career. So if we look at investing in a franchise, what are the minimum investment levels to get in a franchise? Well, there's a significant range when it comes to investing in franchises. So first, when we talk about service-based franchises that go to people's homes or businesses to provide a product or service, we can expect that you're going to have a total investment for a service-based business that will be something greater than $100,000. So you might need to buy equipment to rent out a little industrial space, so forth. But bottom line is that a total investment for a service-based business could be 135,000, could be 185,000, could be 235,000. Now, when we talk about those facility-based franchise concepts, because we're building out that space in that strip mall, our numbers jump up. So then the total investment will be something greater than 200,000. It could be 250,000, it could be 450,000, it could be 650,000. It'll be something greater than 200,000. So when we're looking at franchises, what are the capital requirements to get into franchises, and what are good sources of capital? So there are two primary capital requirements. The first capital requirement that all franchises are going to say is that you have to have so much liquid capital available to invest in our franchise. Liquid capital in the eyes of franchising is very loosely defined. It could be cash, stocks, bonds. It could be equity that you have in your home. It could be retirement dollars instead of investing in stocks and bonds. It's investing in your business. It's anything but an SB loan, small business administrative loan. The second capital requirement is you're going to have so much net worth. Net worth is assets minus liabilities equals net worth. The reason why is that if you're leasing a facility or leasing equipment, you're going to need to have means. Now, fortunately, we're in a world where there is a lot of capital available. I like to call this the funding wheel. So there you have many different ways in which you can capitalize your business. So for example, you can go get an SBA loan, Small Business Administrative Loan. The SBA is not writing the loan for you. The SBA is guaranteeing that loan for the financial institution. Generally speaking, SBA loans, you're going to pay prime plus a couple points, so it's a variable rate. You're going to pay origination fees, closing fees, and it's going to take some work to get the SBA loan done, but it is a great source of capital. There are traditional loans out there today, again, a variable rate, but generally speaking, we don't see a lot of traditional loans because a lot of times you have to have industry experience or a track record, which can be hard. Some franchisors have actually what we call in-house financing, or have set up funding partners. And so that can be a possibility. You see a lot of people leveraging equity in their house or home equity line. So they are using the frozen capital or house to fund the business. Some people use friends and family money. Sometimes people use outside investors. A lot of people in today's world use retirement dollars. So they use what is called the ROBS program. The ROBS programs allow you to leverage your capital in your retirement account. And instead of your retirement account investing in stocks and bonds, it actually invests in your business. Yes, your retirement account owns your business. And if you have a brokerage account, sometimes with the brokerage firms, you can take a line against your portfolio. So there's multiple ways in which you could fund your business. Or simply put, there's many combinations of ways in which you could fund your business. So let's use an example. Let's say that you're going to open up 3 franchise locations. And you're going to do this over a period of time. And the first franchise location you're going to open up, you decide that you're going to fund it with $90,000 worth of cash and $210,000 worth of an SBA loan, or a total of $300,000. Now, when it comes time to open up that second location, maybe you decide I'm going to use some a little bit of equity in my house, $90,000, and I'm going to do retirement dollars, the ROPS program, $210,000 for a total of $300,000 investment. And when it comes time for unit three or open up your third location, well, maybe then you use $90,000 if you retirement through the ROPS program, and you use a conventional loan for $210,000 for a total of $300,000. So again, there's multiple ways or combinations of ways in which you could fund your business. Now, one of the biggest questions people ask me is this: Pete, can I replace my corporate level income through franchising? And the answer is very simple. The financial performance of a franchise business depends 100% on you. But what I can tell you with assurance is that it takes time and scale to replace a corporate level income. And only you, as you evaluate franchises, can determine how much time and scale it's going to take to meet your financial goals. But let's have some fun. Let's say you go through today's presentation and you say, listen, I understand this franchising stuff, but I just want to keep a corporate job. I still think that's security, which I think is crazy, but I just want to have a corporate job. That would be the corporate job, corporate executive salary column. So I have a job, I'm making $200,000 a year, and each year I'm fortunate over the next 5 years to get a raise. And after 5 years, I have a salary of $240,000. But unfortunately, my company decides at that point they are done. They throw me out or terminate me or give me a package, whatever term you want. I have been renting my income. There is no asset value associated with that. Now, let's say that you go through today's webinar and you say, listen, Pete, I am just done with the corporate world. I'm going to leave the corporate world and I'm just going to invest in a franchise. In fact, I'm going to go open up 3 franchise locations. And let's just say that's the big middle box. So you invest to open up 3 locations, and the first year you just get your first location up. You don't take any salary. And year 2, you take a $50,000 salary from your first location, and you just get your second location open. Year 3, you take salary from your first location, 50 from your second, and you get your third one open. Year 4, now it starts getting interesting. You take a $100,000 salary from the first, 75 from the second, 50 from the third, for total of 225,000. You're pretty much on top of what you would have been making in the corporate world. And then year 5, now you surpass that. You take 125,000 from the first, 100 from the second, 75 from the third, for a total income of $300,000. But the cool thing is, not only have you created an income of $300,000, but you built an asset that you could potentially sell as a multiple, right? So the idea is you built an asset. Now, let's say you go through today's webinar and you say, listen, Pete, I really like this idea of executive model semi-absentee. I want to keep my corporate job, I want to keep my corporate income, and I want to start some franchise on the side. That is represented with the red box. So if you decided to do the executive model semi-absentee, and let's say 5 years go by, in 5 years from now, you could have a salary of $240,000, created a franchise business that generates $300,000 worth of secondary income, and you built an asset that you could sell. That is the power of the executive model semi-absentee. Again, it takes a certain amount of time and scale, and only you, as you evaluate franchises, can determine how much time and scale, but it can be very powerful. So, how do I find the right franchise? Well, finding the right franchise that fits you, first, you got to understand what characteristics you're looking for in a business. You also have to know, what do you want to accomplish with that business? And you want to leverage a kind of a proven process to do your due diligence or evaluate franchise opportunities. And certainly, as we go to try to find that right franchise, we want to keep an open mind. I always tell people, keep an open mind. What we believe to be true and what is actually true about businesses can be totally wrong. So we just keep an open mind. We always want to have fun as we explore business opportunities, because until you sign and pay for that franchise, you haven't committed to anything. So have fun learning about people, learning about businesses and stuff like that. And remember, don't ever turn your hobby into a business, right? The definition, if you look in a dictionary, nobody ever uses a dictionary anymore, but if you Google the definition of A hobby, it's something you do outside of work when you're not working. If you take a hobby and make it your business, bottom line is it could ruin your hobby. The best example I can give you in the book E-Myth Revisited, it talked about a wonderful lady that she loved baking. She had all her grandma's recipes, and she decided she'd take her hobby of baking and open up a bakery. She starts out, she's got employees in all the roles, and eventually she finds herself being the one that gets up at 3:30 in the morning, does the baking. She runs the bakery all day long, cleans the bakery at night, and then basically goes home, does her books, gets her 3 hours of sleep, and can't understand why she now hates baking. So we never turn our hobby into a business. Now, when we look to try to find the right franchise business, there is a search process, and I will call that good, better, and best. So you can go to some of these sites where bottom line is that you can basically click on a bunch of businesses that sound interesting, give them your personal information, and they'll send you some information on those franchise businesses. Unfortunately, you might be having your information might be sold to others or shared with others, and you might be reached. People might start reaching out to you and saying, "Hey, do you want to invest in a franchise?" Right? And bottom line is that this can be very overwhelming. You want to shut off your phone, shut down your emails. It can be very intense. So maybe a better way is you see a business you like, go to their website and see if they have franchise opportunities and contact them. You will go directly into their franchise development group, and that's good. It's a very direct approach, but unfortunately, there's nobody there helping you through the process. So you go directly into their sales funnel. Nobody's helping you through the process. And then the best way is to leverage a franchise consultant, somebody like me, that is an expert in helping you figure things out, to help you understand what you're looking for, what you'd want in business, and get you connected to franchise companies, and then kind of be there by your side as a coach. So that's the best way to try to find a franchise, is leveraging a franchise consultant. So this would be example how I might help you through your journey. So what I would do is, if you said, "Pete, I want to learn about this franchising stuff," I'd have you fill out a simple questionnaire. It takes about 10 minutes. And then we would use that information and do a consultation call. Talk about 75 minutes where I ask you questions. I'll listen, I'll take notes, with the understanding is I want to learn about you, what's important, what you'd want with the business. And I'll actually put it into a written summary, which we call the model. I'll use this model and I'll go look for franchises that align with your interest. And I'll come back to you and share those with you and connect you to those companies. And as you start doing your due diligence, evaluating franchise opportunities, I'll be there by your side. Think of me as a coach. I'll be teaching you, preparing you, giving you resources. And I'm there when you start having that fear. I'll be there by your side, kind of helping you work through it. Now, as we think about evaluating franchises, we call it the franchise investigation procedures, the steps that you go through as part of your due diligence to evaluate franchises. As we talked about earlier, anytime we're thinking about investing in a franchise, first we have to determine what characteristics do we want with the business? What do we want to accomplish with that business? We also want to understand what level of engagement do we want to be involved in? What type of customers? And once we know that, we can take that and then start looking for franchises that align with that. And when we find those franchises that align with that interest, we're going to start the due diligence process. And there's really kind of four steps that you go through as part of the franchise investigation procedures. The first step is you do what is called an introduction call. That's where they give you a great overview of the franchise concept. They answer a lot of your questions, and you start building a relationship. The second step in evaluating franchises is the franchise disclosure document. You see, all franchises are required to have a franchise disclosure document. The acronym is FDD. It's designed to ensure that you're in front of the investor. So the franchise company is going to give you a copy of that document. They'll review it with you. It's a great source of information. The third step in evaluating franchises, in my opinion, is the most important step. And this is about validation. This is your chance to talk to actual franchise owners within the franchise system you're considering without the franchisor present. And once you build rapport, you can ask them any question and they will answer, even the financial questions. The last step is what we call a confirmation day, discovery day, meet the team day. It's all the same term. You're feeling good about them. They're feeling good about you. They're inviting you out to the corporate headquarters, the franchisor's headquarters, to meet the leadership team, to meet the support staff, to see the operation. So this is very much a mutual approval day. Now, all franchise companies have other little steps in between. They may do a unit economics call. They may do a territory mapping call. They may do a call that covers the customer acquisition model. There may be a leadership call. These are little steps by comparison to the four steps outlined. So what are things as we evaluate the franchises? what should we be looking for, or what should we consider when we're investigating franchises? So, first, we want to look at the leadership team. And it's one thing to be a leader of one business. It's another to be a leader of a franchise system that has 100 franchisees. So we want to look at the experience of the leadership team. We want to understand is when we become a franchisee, what launch support do we get launching that business, and what kind of training do we get? We also, as we consider or investigate franchises, are franchisees happy? Are they making money? We want to look at the reputation or the image of the franchise concept that we're considering. What's the size of the franchise system? Is it where they've got 5 locations opened or 500 opened? And is this a upcoming concept or is it established? Have they been around for a year or have they been around for 20 years? And when you join that franchise, does it feel like you're joining a family business or a Fortune 1000 company? Or simply put, the culture, the feel of the franchise system. And certainly, as we consider franchising or we investigate them, we want to understand the customer acquisition, the marketing model that you'll use to acquire customers. And certainly, we want to understand as a franchisee, what is that ongoing support that I get? What are they going to do? Am I going to have a coach that meets with me on a monthly basis to go through my KPIs? Will somebody come out, fly out, and spend some time with me in my territory? And if it's a facility-based franchise concept, will they help me find the location, help me build out the space? And we certainly also want to have an understanding of the financial position of the franchise company. So one of the questions people ask me with all this craziness that's going on in the world right now is this still a good time to invest in a franchise? And I say, yes, it's still a good time to invest in a business, invest in a franchise. You see, there's still liquidity in the market. There's still a lot of capital available. And as we're seeing, there is a lot of volatility in the equity markets. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to diversify, to get some money off the table and put it in under your pillow or right in your control, opposed to being in markets you can't control. And yes, interest rates will continue to decline, maybe not as fast as we'd like, but interest rates are going to continue to decline. And corporate downsizing, it's going to continue. We've made the case for that today. We're certainly going to have a lot more. It's time now to protect your income, to protect your career. And there are more and more franchise opportunities coming. Franchising is booming. And it has never been easier to invest in a business or start a business. We are in a gig economy from that standpoint. Doesn't mean it's easy to build a business. There's never been an easier time, though, to build a business. You know, there are people that go through this process, but bottom line is that franchising isn't for them, right? So they go through this whole process, they do their due diligence, and they choose not to invest. And that's perfectly fine because franchising is not for everyone. You know, some people, again, they decide it's not for them. Others aren't willing to put the work in to find the right franchise partner. It takes work, 20 to 30 good hours of due diligence to find that right franchise partner. And you definitely want to find the right franchise partner. And unfortunately, a lot of people get caught up into fear and anxiety, false evidence appearing real, and it stops them from following their dreams, which is very sad, right? We don't let fear stop us. We understand what fear is. We step through that fear. That's just part of it. And some people, they don't have the capital to invest in a franchise, and that's good. You don't want to stretch too much. If you don't have the capital, it's probably not something you should do. And some people, as crazy as it is, they still say, Pete, a job equals income security. And that's crazy to me. Again, there is no more loyalty. There is no more job security. At any given point, you could be a name on a list, one merger away, one corporate restructuring away, one, for lack of better terms, bad thing that happens. Bottom line is that jobs are no longer income security. And if you have a maverick mentality, then franchising certainly isn't right for you. It's just, if it's my way or the highway, a franchise is a system. You follow the system. That doesn't mean you can't make the system better, but you follow the system. And unfortunately, some people's friends and family prevent them from becoming an entrepreneur. I had one candidate I worked with, literally, the family voted to decide if they would allow him to invest in a business. They voted down his dream. Very sad. And some people aren't capable of making a decision. And if you're not capable of making a decision, that is a decision. That is a no decision. So people go through the process. It's not for everybody. There's multiple different reasons, but for the right people, it can be very good. And let's talk about it being right for people. So Tony and I, over the years, have been able to do many of these webinars. And executives just like yourself are on here and they go, well, maybe, just maybe I should check this out. And they contact me and they go through the process and they ultimately invest in a franchise. And Tony and I invite them back and we interview them and we ask them to share their stories with us. And John Weiss would be an example. He was a corporate level executive. He's also an entrepreneur. He had started multiple startup businesses and he decided he wanted to get back to being an entrepreneur, leave the corporate world. So he invested in semi-absentee business where he could have multiple locations and build something. And he just said, hey, it's an easier path leveraging a franchise instead of coming up with a big idea on my own. Mike Furnish, corporate executive, want to keep his corporate job, start the franchise inside. So he shares his story of keeping his corporate job and starting the franchise inside. And Jim Griffin, a senior level executive, decides wants to leave the corporate world, but wants to have franchise locations in different states like California and Florida. And he shares his story of escaping the corporate world and building out his business. And I just talked to him a couple of months ago. He's doing great, like he shared in our interview. So you want to hear their stories? Those are great, great listen. Again, people that sat through webinars just like you've done today, said, hey, listen, I want to learn more. They ultimately invest in a franchise and they share their stories of living life on their own terms and building wealth. So if you've went through today and you have more questions, you just want to kind of talk this through a little bit, I encourage you to go to ExecuNet, to hire yourself, call, and just schedule a quick time with me. We'll have a conversation. I'll learn a little bit about you, what's going on, what you're looking for. I'll tell you a little bit more about how I can help you. I'll give you some great resources. I'll give you my franchise book, Hire Yourself. I'll give you a free copy of that. You give me your address. I'll mail a paperback copy to you. I'll give you my franchise investment guide. So I'll give you a lot of great resources if this is something you're interested in. So in summary, if you're a corporate executive, then maybe you're sitting here and you say, how can I create career and income security in today's crazy world? Well, maybe franchising might be a path. Or how can I take back control of my destiny and live life on my terms? Well, franchising may allow you to do that. Or how can I create financial independence and quit trading time for dollars? Then franchising might be right for you. Bottom line is that you owe it to yourself to just learn about franchising to see if it is a potential path or not. And that's what I'm here for. So, Tony, I'm going to turn it over for you for questions.
All right, Pete, thank you. And we're going to turn to a few questions in a moment. Before we do, if you took away anything from today's session, it's this. Pete knows what he's talking about. He's clearly been through the process himself, emerged successfully. He's helped so many people through it, including the case studies that he highlighted. What am I saying to you? If this is remotely intriguing to you and you're thinking, how do I build security? How do I move forward and create some level of comfort for myself, possibly my family? You owe it to yourself to talk to Pete. It costs nothing to talk to him. And as you'll find out in a moment, it costs nothing to rely on him to help you move forward. So I'm going to encourage everyone who got that link earlier, follow it, schedule time, ask him your questions. He'll listen. He's a great listener. He's heard so many stories of people who say, well, my situation is this or it's that. He understands that. So again, if you emerge from that call, you'll have an understanding of whether you should move forward. In other words, whether it's right for you or not. So Pete, I mentioned it's free to talk to you. We often get this question, well, what is Pete's engagement model? At what point do I have to pay him? How does he make money, etc.? So please explain.
Yeah, the great thing about my engagement is when you work with me, you never sign anything, you never pay me anything. So my service is completely free to you. So, how can I offer this free service to you? Well, when I help you through the process, if you invest in a franchise, I get a referral fee from the franchisor, very similar to, say, like an executive recruiter. And also, I hope when I do a great job for you that you refer me to some other people. So, again, my engagement model is very simple. You pay me nothing. You never sign anything. My services are free.
Okay, terrific. We often get this question, this concern even from people who are, say, CFOs, GMs, um, have nothing to do directly with sales and marketing. They wonder and worry, well, I don't have that background. How do I move forward as a franchisee? Do I need that background?
Yeah, most people that invest in a franchise don't have a hardcore sales background, right? I believe in life, we're always selling. We're selling product, service, budgets, proposals, ideas. But the benefit of a franchise is looking for you to bring that leadership skills, that business acumen, and they have sales mechanisms. The idea is to help bring customers to you. And the idea is they're going to teach you about all the different stuff. And in most cases, it's not cold calling, it's not door-to-door calling. You're going to use marketing, customer acquisition models. You may have salespeople, but the idea is you don't have to come with a background of sales and marketing to be successful as a franchisee.
Mhm. And it seems to me as a marketer, it comes with certain advantages, right? As Pete was outlining, often with a built-in customer base. And as you recall, he was going through all the places you come across in your daily life. That's a franchise, that's a franchise. Well, that also means instant brand recognition. And I believe that can translate to a level of immediate customer trust, which could translate more directly to a quicker return on your investment. So think about it in those terms. You're buying into something that has got a proven roadmap, and if you follow it, the odds are heavily in your favor. So I'm kind of setting up the second, rather the last question I'd like to ask you, Pete, which is, gosh, how can I be sure I'm going to succeed? I don't want to fail. What's the most you could do, Pete, to ensure you are a successful franchise owner?
Yeah, so I think first of all, we know that when we go into business, there's always risk, and we try to mitigate risks as much as we can. We can't eliminate it. A franchise is designed with all their systems and process procedures and support to help you. You follow that system, you make less mistakes, save you capital, which improves your chances of success. It can also save you time, right? So a franchise is designed to do that. But as we have a franchise business model, there might be one person that is successful and there might be one person that isn't. And the difference really kind of comes down to the individual because you have to understand that when we have a business, it's hard work. It doesn't mean that you're going to have to do all the hard work, but it's hard work to get a business off the ground. So we just have to understand it's work. It's just not easy, right? It's an easier path, but it's still hard work. Number two is that there are really smart people that they invest in a franchise system and they choose not to follow the franchise business model or the system, right? And that's crazy, right? So we follow the system. We can always make it better, but at a minimum, we follow the system we invested in. And we also, as we look at being a business owners are problem solvers. And in today's world, it doesn't matter where the problems come. And I know we want to blame other people for problems, but at the end of the day, as a business owner, it doesn't matter where the problem comes from. You have to solve the problem. So the idea is that you just figure it out. You figure it out and you go forward. And I think another differentiator of improving your success is this idea of leading in today's world. I grew up in the days where when you were a boss or a leader, you just told somebody what to do and they did it. Those days are gone, right? The days now, even with a $15 employee, you just don't tell them what to do. You have to onboard them. You have to have them as part of the mission. And it could be something as simple as a restoration business. They get water out of my basement, right? That's a $20 an hour job, right? Well, if it's a $20 job, that's fine. But if it's part of a mission to help people get back their life, get the water out so the family can move back into the house or get back into the basement or get the water out of the business, right? So we can get back to serving or helping customers. At the end of the day, it's about the leadership and how you're helping them out. So bottom line is that there's always risk in business. We try to leverage a franchise model to reduce that risk. And then it's upon you to kind of make sure that you're doing everything possible to be successful.
I love that example you shared, Pete, because it's a reminder as well. Yeah, we've talked about income security and job security and all those very important things. But you just drew our attention to something else, which is there's great meaning in the work. And when you think about how close you as a business owner can be to making a difference in everyday people's lives, I can't think of a better way to do that than to be a small business owner, like owning a franchise. So I think that's a powerful statement. Pete, you've talked a lot. I'm sorry we've kept you a very long time. Thank you, as always, for sharing your insight, making time for us. Thank you all who've tuned in for the questions you've asked. And again, think through this, please, and do yourself that favor. It's just a little investment of your time. And if you speak with Pete, he's going to walk you through the mechanics. He's going to answer your highly personal questions. He's going to assess as well things like how quickly you might get a return on your investment, questions that I know are eating at you. So, take the leap, make the call, and see where it goes. You never know, right? Unless you try. So with that, thank you all. I look forward to seeing you at the next Q&A. Bye for now.